Hi, good morning, friends, and thank you for a great response for my earlier videos. Students have gone through the DevOps professional slides, and I got a mail from at least 20 persons who cleared the DevOps examination. Now I am back with AWS Certified Security Specialty Exam. Security exam is a backbone for any security professional. Salary of a security professional is more than any with any DevOps or any professional architect, because this is a specialized field, and a person other than security, other persons also should get knowledge of security, because when you are doing any project or any specialization in cloud, you need to make sure one need to make sure that your cloud or your data center is secured. So what I did, I divided the whole security slides in four parts so that I can explain in detail, and you will get more benefits to clear your examination. If you have any question, then you can drop an email to me, or you can put comment on the comment section. So security exam is check candidate knowledge about securing AWS product and services. This exam also validates if a person is having good amount of knowledge in data classifications and data protection mechanism. So data protection mechanism, whenever you are storing any of the data, either it's a persistent storage, or it's a object storage, or it's a file storage, you need to protect the data. So when you are creating a EC2 machine, you attach EBS volume. So you need to make sure that data is protected. So there are two kind of data which you can protect. One data is, you might have seen, data at rest. So any persistent storage, either you are having the hard disk, data within the hard disk, you have the EVS volume, you have the file system, you need to protect. And AWS comes with different protection mechanism with reference to keys. So see, it's a similar kind of things when you are having a your room, or you are storing your money, you have to lock your almari, or you have to lock your house. The same way data also work in AWS. Data in transit, when if you know you have the secured connection. So for example, you are having the object storage, that is S3. Now object storage, you know that this is on internet, that's the object storage. So you have to use the secured connection. So what's a way you will secure it? The data which is in transit, how you will secure it? That comes under data protection mechanism. then a good amount of data encryption method and AWS mechanism. Now, data in rest, data which is sitting in rest, and data which is in transit. So you cannot have the plain data, because if you will have the plain data, or if you are not encrypting your data while it is in transit, if some attacker attack your cloud, your data is gone. They can capture your data. So keeping in view, AWS provides number of mechanisms. So AWS provide key management service, that is AWS key. So we have the AWS managed key and AWS customer management key, that is CMK. We have the cloud HSM. So these are the keys which, based on your use case, you can adopt one of these keys. If you need, AWS should do every work for you, go for AWS management key. If you want more control, then you go for customer management key. Then the third one is understanding of secure internet protocols. Now you know how the data will transit. You will have HTTP, HTTPS, TCP, FTP, TLS. So how you secure those protocols? How the data in transit visibly secured? So AWS, if you understand about cloud, you need to use some kind of certificate. So AWS provide a, a service called ACM. Through ACM, you can create your certificate, and you can upload the certificate to the means, the way data is transmit. So we have CloudFront, we have load balancer, we have API gateway, which you can use. You have to make sure that you need to secure your protocols. A working knowledge of AWS security services and feature of services to provide a secure production environment. There are a number of security services AWS provide. So you have, when you are having the whole, you have to secure the whole cloud. So there are a number of security services, starting from you have IEM, users, groups, policies, roles. Then you have data in transit, data in rest. You have KMS. You have AWS Spectre, that is used for securing your EC2 computing power, that is EC2 Lambda, or containers. You're having the security hub. You're having the trusted advisor. You have the guard duty. You have AWS config. So these different AWS services you can use for securing your environment. Now, when you create your cloud using the control tower, you are having the different SCPs, that is control policies. So you can have different OUs and you can create number of accounts. Through the SCPs, you can restrict the user to impose the policies. The policies will be inherited to different account. Then you have the IAM policies. You have the SSO. You have the Active Directory. You can integrate Active Directory to through the SSO. You have Cognito. So these are the different services which one should use while securing your environment. Now, this exam also use your decision to reduce the cost. You have to create your environment. You have to create your workload. You have to secure your workload. You have to deploy your workload. You have to deploy your application. So it's your duty to secure everything in your environment. If you have to deploy, then AWS provide number of AWS services. We have AWS code commit, we have code deploy, we have code build, we have code pipeline, we have GitHub. You need to make sure that whenever you are using these codes, this environment is secured. You need to make sure that your cost should be minimum. You need to take a decision whether to go on containers, whether to go on Lambda, or whether to go on EC2 machine. Then a good understanding of security operations and risk. Once you have the complete environment, parallelly, the important point of any cloud is logging and monitoring. You need to make sure the logs which is generated by infrastructure and application, this should be collected to one of the environment. You need to make sure that if you will not monitor the environment, what are the risk involved. You need to make sure, for example, if you will not use the guard duty is a threat detection system. If somebody is attacking your environment, then if you will not mitigate the risk, then your cloud is in risk. You need to make sure how to deploy BAF, how to deploy BAF ACL, how to deploy, how to mitigate DDoS attack. You need to understand what is AWS Shield, what is AWS Advanced Shield, how it helps to secure environment. So minimum 3 to 5 years experience you should have for designing and implementing security solutions. So this is not mandatory, but a person who is having this kind of experience, he or she can easily crack this exam. You should also understand what is AWS shared responsibility model and its application. So you know the shared responsibility model. So though data center is placed in AWS data centers, AWS locations, but there are equal responsibility for AWS and a customer. Till hypervisor layer, AWS is responsible. AWS is responsible for all storage, compute, and network hardware. But whenever it comes in virtual world, it's a customer responsibility. You need to make sure that whether you applied logging and monitoring mechanism to secure environment, you need to make sure that whether you are able to manage your vulnerabilities, you need to make sure whether you are having in patching in place, whether you have the security hub, whether you are able to get enough issues and you are resolving it. You should know how to integrate AWS services with the third party tools. So based on your use cases, if you have to integrate your services with Splunk, you have to send the logs, the whole environment logs to monitor. So you have to integrate with Splunk. You have to integrate with other third-party tool. You need to make sure that you are having the enough backup strategies and disaster recovery control. You need to make sure that you should know how to take backup, how to have disaster recovery. You should understand how backup is important. What will happen if my system will fail? What will happen? My whole region will fail. You should understand what is cryptography and key management. You should understand what is a plain text and ciphertext, how you encrypt your data with the key, and then how you will decrypt it. You should understand the entity access management. You should understand how you create the users, group and roles, policies. You should understand the data retention and life cycle management. You have to make sure that your data should be retained. So you have the S3 lifecycle policies, you have the file system lifecycle policies. You should understand how to troubleshoot your security issues. You should also understand multi-account governance and organization compliance. Now, AWS come up with the control tower. You need to have the multiple accounts. For development, you have different account. For staging, testing, production, you have different account. So how to govern those all accounts with the help of organization unit? You need to understand those things. You need to understand how you will detect the threat and how you will, what would be your incident response strategy. I specified guard duty. That's a great tool in terms of threat detection. It take the data from the VPC flow log, DNS flow log, DNS log. It keep on monitoring within the environment and it analyze and it give you the detail about all the threats in the environment. You can also log these reports and send to a common account. So the edge I discussed earlier, multiple choice questions. Multiple choice questions have one correct response and three incorrect responses. Multiple responses, two or more correct responses out of five or more responses. What I saw, you do it all the questions which is having one response at one go, then you try multiple responses. 50 questions, there are 65 questions but 50 questions that affect your score. There are 15 unscored questions that do not affect your score. AWS collect information about performance on these unscored questions to evaluate these questions for future. AWS certified security specialty exam, either you have to pass or you have to fail. You need 750 score out of 100 to 1000. They will also give you the report whether you have passed or failed and what is your score is in different sections. There are 5 sections which AWS has. I divided this as I specified. I divided the whole session into 5 parts. There are 6 domains which AWS come up and a candidate need to prepare. The first domain is threat detection and incident management. The second domain is security logging and monitoring. So how you log the data, how you monitor the data from everything, either from application or from infrastructure or from guard duty or from security hub. How you will log those data either or from CloudWatch logs. How you will make sure your infrastructure is secured, very important. How you make sure that identity and access management working fine with your environment. How you protect your data, that's a domain 5. Management and security governance, that's one of the important chapter. That is domain 6. So infrastructure security is having the 20% of its code content. You have to go through the slides. You need to practice and you need to understand the concept. Without understanding, you cannot get a success. Domain 1 is threat detection and incident management. So a candidate should understand what are the best practices for incident response. What are the different cloud incident? What are the roles and responsibilities in the incident response plan? What is security funding format? You should understand how you implement credential, how you rotate the keys, how you will use the secret manager, how you will rotate the secret manager key, how you will rotate the KMS key, how you will implement playbook and runbook for security incident, how to use security hub, messy, guard duty, inspector, detective and config, identity and access management, how you will use the event freeze. Most important, a lot of questions comes in event freeze. Then the second task is detect security detection anomaly by AWS service. It understand, it use the knowledge of guard duty, security hub, messy, config, searching and correlating security threats across AWS services. Detective, how you will search. Guard duty is for detection, but you have to further correlate security threats. You have the detective. How you will perform queries to validate security events. That is Amazon Athena. How you will use the cloud watch. I will explain these all different domains in detail in my coming session. Please stay tuned and go through all the videos related to security. If you have any question, you comment it. I will help you to clear your exam. Thank you very much. If you like this video, then please like, comment and share. Thank you.